Alcohol is for losers, and I'll tell you exactly why. My name is Mike. I'm a former New York City bouncer who used to work in some of the biggest clubs in the city, and I went back to college in my late 20s like a fucking loser, like the loser that I was. But I studied hard, studied the right things, and I got into consulting with with one of the top consulting firms in the world. And now I own my own consulting firm. I live in my dream home, drive my dream car. I have a great life. I have a great job as well. Um, so let's talk about the three reasons why alcohol is for losers. The first one is that it causes a loss of self-discipline and a loss of self-respect. So rather than being disciplined and confronting your problems head on, you run to alcohol to escape your problems. You're not facing issues that you have. So if you have a disgusting fat body, or you're skinny and you can't get to the gym, rather than being disciplined and eating healthy, doing the right things, working out, you're drinking to cope with your unhappiness with your body, and you're not actually being disciplined physically. And you don't show up to work, you don't show up to your friends, you don't show up when you're dating in great physical shape. And it clearly shows a lack of discipline. And you see it in people who are strong alcoholics, whether they're homeless people or they're fat partiers, or they got that puffy alcohol face. You can tell that that person doesn't have discipline. When you're drinking, it shows that you are choosing comfort over control. And remember, this isn't necessarily how you're showing up to other people, but also to yourself, right? Do you have control of your life? Do you have control over your career? Do you have control over your finances? Are you living where you want to live? Are you driving a car you want to drive? Or are you drinking to just forget about your unhappiness? These are things that I did. I struggled with for a long time. And I definitely was drinking to escape my reality, especially before I got my job. Even while I was in school, I thought that going to school, having straight A's, was going to make me happy, was going to keep me happy. But I was suffering because it was embarrassing to be a 28-year-old man taking 100 level courses with a bunch of 18-year-old kids. It was fucking weird. It was embarrassing. So I would drink to hide my shame, to deal with my shame. I didn't have control. I had enough control to focus on having good grades, and with multiple internships and doing well in school to get the career that I was dreaming of. But I was drinking to cope with the shame and to hide from my embarrassment, my own internal embarrassment. I was drinking by myself too. So alcohol, it numbs you, it lowers your personal standards, and it tells you that I can't handle life without this escape. And that was definitely something that I was doing. I mean, I was drinking a lot. I was drinking every day most of the time. I can't remember going more than a week without having a drink. And it was me saying, well, I'm gonna work all day so that I can get home and I can escape my reality. My favorite thing was to drink and play video games. And I would drink, smoke. There was times when I was doing drugs a lot too. And I was playing video games or watching TV, entertaining myself to hide and escape from my reality. And ultimately, I didn't have the identity of being a man who's capable of leading himself. So let me repeat that. I did not have the identity of a man who is capable of leading himself. I didn't step away from myself and say, what am I doing, right? I didn't use my mind to look at my body and to say, what am I doing with this character in this world, right? Instead, I was so caught up with survivalism, trying to make it through the pain of working 2 full-time jobs and a part-time job like I did for 3 years. It was tough. And I would just escape from the pain. And I had complete lack of self-discipline and a complete lack of self-respect. I was using my body and I was using myself to generate income and to, I don't know, do what I thought was the right thing. And but I wasn't treating my body well at all. So the second reason why alcohol is for losers is that it kills clarity and it kills growth. So with all the reasons that I was saying, lack of self-respect, lack of self-discipline, these things will lead to a lack of clarity for the future. So you're kind of like, I want to be rich, but I don't want to think about it. So you just start drinking to forget, to not have to think about these hard questions. How are you going to be rich? How are you going to own a Lamborghini before the age of 30? How are you going to get there? You say, man, this is so hard. It's too stressful. I can't think about this. I'm not that smart. And so you start doubting yourself. You already have this lack of self-respect. So rather than being forced to sit down with a piece of paper, a notebook, and a pen, rather than sitting down and forcing yourself to think about these things, you just want to drink and forget. I mean, that's what I did for a long time. But in general, just drink. The act of drinking alcohol, right? Even if you're not dealing with these existential problems, these existential questions, you're living your life, you're happy, even if you're already a millionaire, you're making tons of money, you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, whatever, right? You're a business owner, you're making tons of money. Alcohol, it clouds your judgment. It clouds your ability to think into the future. And if you drink today, it ruins your energy for tomorrow. Even if you drink a little bit, but like I did, I would drink to the point where I'd be hungover every day. Hell, there were some days when I would wake up and I would have to drink in the morning just to get rid of the hangover and to feel better. Think about that. I mean, waking up at 10 o'clock in the morning, hungover, I have to have a beer to kind of like get myself out of the hangover, feel better. So it ruins your energy. It destroys your ability to be consistent on something like disciplining yourself, working out. You can't be consistent if you're hungover, let's say 2 days, 3 days out of the week. You're supposed to go to the gym every day, but if you're hungover one of those days, you're not gonna make it. In my case, I'm in the gym at 4 a.m. every morning. I'm not gonna make it to the gym if I drink the night before. So I just can't. I don't want to, not interested in it, and I can't. Alcohol becomes a crutch it becomes the thing that fills the hole, that void in your life when you're not building something, when you're not doing something useful with yourself. If you're not sure what that is yet, do you want to do a social media marketing agency? Do you want to do an Amazon FBA business? Are you going to sell things on eBay? Are you going to open up a ice cream shop? I don't know what the hell your idea is. You want to do a food truck business. You want to do something, but you're not quite sure what. And rather than going out and doing that thing, you're just going to drink so you can avoid your problems. And you fill that energy that you have. You channel that into alcohol. And so you have like this huge gap of time where you can do something on a Saturday, but you said, fuck it, I'm just gonna get drunk. Whether you do it during the day or you get drunk the night before and you kind of sleep off the hangover through half of your Saturday. It's a big waste of time. Every drink that you're taking is a step back from building your higher self, from making your dreams come true, starting a family, becoming a millionaire, starting a business, building your existing business into something bigger and better. I know business owners who have the potential to have very, very big multi-million-dollar businesses. One of the things that I help with, but they have their demons that they're struggling with, whether it's alcohol or drugs or women or just like a shitty personal life. They got issues with, or their poor finances, they got no discipline, they got no self-discipline, and they have the opportunity to grow their business and to have something amazing, but they're just completely fucking lost. When you are drinking like I did for years and years and years, you don't have self-discipline, and you've been feeding this instant gratification mechanism for so long. We're like, fuck it, I'll just have a beer after work every day. And it's kind of fun. You have it, you get buzzed, and you can kind of forget about your problems. You've been doing that for so long, it's really hard to stop and to build that self-discipline. The third reason why alcohol is for losers is because you're setting a weak example for others. So whether that's your girlfriend or your spouse, your kids, other family members, your business partners, when you drink too much, people say, oh yeah, that guy's a fun guy to hang out with, but he's a little out of control. Or they just say, fuck it, he gets drunk, we get drunk, we're all having fun, we all party, we have a good time, we're all wasted, whatever. But you're not actually setting a good example for people around you. You're not being the leader that you could be. You're not being the leader of your family, you're not being the leader of your friend circle. And it's not saying that you shouldn't drink around people and then go around prophesizing about why you're better than them or why alcohol is not a good thing for people in general. You can't just stop drinking and then remain poor and then not have anything to show for it, right? If you're gonna stop drinking, you're gonna start working out, you're gonna start building your better self. And I'm not saying that you have to be a millionaire and have a jacked body and then tell people, I don't drink because this is what I do. But you can put yourself on a path for it. So if you're saying, I want to work out and look better, I want to build a successful business, or I want to be more successful in my career, or I want to go back to school and study something that I always wanted to so I can build a career in that direction, you can justify your lack of drinking, your quitting, because you are on the path to being in that direction. In my case, I'm not some multi-millionaire, I'm not a 10 millionaire, 20 millionaire, nothing like that, but I'm building my consulting business. It's growing, we have several clients, and I don't need to drink. I'm channeling all of my energy, all that excess energy I used to put into video games, into alcohol, I'm putting it into my business, into working with my partner, into my employees. And that is far more successful. And I don't have to talk about it, but it comes up in conversations. What do you do? Well, I do this and I do that, and I'm working on this and that. And that's far more inspirational to people around me than my former alcoholic self, where it was like, yeah, cool, I got this great job, but let's get drunk and have fun. And people would just come to me just to party. Now, some of my friends, I've actually lost, I wouldn't say lost, right? But some of my friends have kind of backed away because I've become intimidating. Because I stopped drinking, because I've suddenly got this new sense of self-control, and I'm proud of it, but at the same time, I'm not judging them, but I think they're judging themselves the way I used to. I used to judge people when I saw somebody who wouldn't drink at a party. I used to be like pretty damn jealous of them. I used to be like, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't drink? And I was like, how can you not? I mean, I can't imagine myself never drinking again. So I am a much stronger example for others now than I was before when I used to drink. Drinking regularly, it normalizes weakness. It normalizes the weakness that is symbolized by drinking. Oh, I'm just one of you. I'm like all my other friends. We all just kind of drink and work our shitty jobs and complain about work, or don't talk about it all because we're not proud of what we do. Yeah, I'm just one of you. I'm normal. And normal people in general are fairly weak. They just kind of live their lives. Yeah, they got families, they got kids. I get it, they got, Mike, you don't understand what it's like to be a single mother. I went to school, I got an MBA with a single mother. She had 3 fucking kids, babies, like still drinking milk out of bottle babies. I think the oldest one, was barely a toddler. But this fucking woman was going to school full time, getting her MBA, and now she's a senior level executive at a top like mobile company. And single mother. She wasn't anything special. She wasn't the smartest person in class or the dumbest or the loudest or whatever. Just, a good student, very enthusiastic, like all of us MBAs were, all of us MBA students. And, I've seen people accomplish great things. I got people living in my building who are self-made millionaires or they're working hard and they've got kids. I know plenty of people that have kids who are very successful with kids or poverty or whatever. I don't have any kids yet, but I've had to deal with extreme poverty. Like I said, I went from, my first apartment was it's like $700 a month, and I was making barely $1,000 a month at a Wendy's full time, making like $8 an hour. After all my taxes, I had just enough money to pay my $700 rent and a little bit left over for a Metro card, which at the time was like $50 a month. And so that's a card that would get me on the buses and trains that I could take to work every day. That was it. I had to neglect my credit cards, student loans, all of that for years because I could not pay them whatsoever. So the point is if you cannot lead yourself away from the bottle, if you know that you're not achieving the things you want and you think that alcohol is causing an issue for you, if you cannot lead yourself away from the bottle, how can you lead somebody else? Start with that. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.